I'm alive. I shouldn't be.
He should not be alive. This is unfucking believable.
From the heart of trucker America, my boy Reed Coverdale, host of The Naturalist Capitalist.
This is what government does. It sucks.
If you think you're going to win people over by stating commonplaces, you're just selling the other part.
It is about dictating every transaction that you have for the rest of your life.
Mr. Potato Head.
Coverdale is the guy to be president of the United States.
You intimidated me with your perfect 74 stat.
That was the beginning of my problems.
A guy doing what he loved, chasing a minor.
But I'll put a 50 cal attached to my Suburban.
Libertarians need to get out of New York.
The gulag is going to be in your house.
This guy's a fucking murderer. He deserves to be in a
gotta get him out of that truck at night and get him into the White House.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Naturalist Capitalist. I haven't put an episode out, I don't know, probably for 2 weeks or so. I am sorry about that. I know I made an announcement that I was going to be stepping back from doing several episodes a week, but I didn't think it would be this much. It's just been lots of work over here. As you guys know, I've started working in the power line industry again, and we've just had storm after storm over here. I'm actually going back in early first thing in the morning, and actually declined working today because things weren't crazy, but there is a storm that's gone through and there's been power outages. So I've had to reschedule tons of podcasts. I'm still working on getting ones done that were supposed to be done in December. So I'm sorry about that, but here we are. Also got exciting news. This is the first time I've had someone sponsor the show. We've got a sponsor this week. They're good friends of mine from Lions of Liberty. I've had both of the guys on the show from Lions of Liberty, John Odermatt and Brian McWilliams. I've actually gotten to know Brian McWilliams personally pretty well over the last year. Got to meet him out in Reno, spent some good time with him, and also saw him out in Vegas during Freedom Fest, and have enjoyed a lot of back and forth with these guys on social media, and then been on their show, had them on mine. So please go check them out. They're great. Lions of Liberty is one of the longest running libertarian podcasts that's out there. I mean, they started doing this back when podcasting wasn't even really a thing yet. They've been around a lot longer than us. They were in the game before every single libertarian had a podcast. So go check them out. On Monday, John Odermatt delivers a powerful mix of inspiration, health, and faith to set your mind, body, and soul free with Finding Freedom. So you can watch John Odermatt there. And then every Wednesday, Brian McWilliams will make you laugh at our broken world while providing the promise of a better future with Mean Age Daydream. Friday includes shows like Meme Wars or Hate Watch, or their famous Libertarian in Living Rooms Drinking Liquor episodes. So go check out Lions of Liberty. They're the first step toward freedom. They've had lots of great guests, you know, basically everybody I've had on my show, plus more. Listen to them on, anywhere that you can find podcasts, just like me, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you look down in the links in the description, I have some of their links there to YouTube and to Twitter. So go give them a follow, go check them out. Please go check them out if you haven't before. This is the first time I've done a sponsorship, so try to help me reflect well on doing an ad read for them, and go give them a subscription, go listen to their show, go join their Patreon if you want. Good guys, so go check them out. Anyway, like I said, right around Christmas, I was going to try to redirect this show slightly. Instead of talking just about politics, I wanted to talk with some people who had bettered their own lives through finding a skill and making themselves valuable in a field where they could make a lot of money. So moving back to New Hampshire, one of these guys in the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire that I'd kind of known through Twitter, and I think I'd met him at Porkfest briefly. We started talking a lot online, and then since I've been back here in New Hampshire, when I was working on the Jeremy Kauffman campaign and doing social media for the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. I became pretty good friends with him. He is Erik Sawyer, local carpenter here in New Hampshire, and obviously Libertarian member, and guy who does social media for the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. Erik, how you doing today, man?
Good, man. Hey, thanks for having me on. Excited.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I guess before we get into what you do for work, how did you get into the whole the libertarian sphere? What kind of led you down that path?
Well, I'd say it started in 2013. Before that, I was a bit apolitical. I leaned left. Started getting into the anti-war movement a little bit, and then I won't go through the whole thing, but I discovered Ron Paul, and typical libertarian story from there. And then in 2020, I moved to New Hampshire because of the Free State Project. And before that, I got involved with the Jacob Hornberger campaign, became a Mises Caucus organizer in Mass. And then as soon as I moved to New Hampshire, I linked up with our friend Ben Richards and JD Olinsky and became an organizer for the New Hampshire Mises Caucus. And that eventually led to me becoming the communications chair for LPNH, which is just basically the social media manager. So I manage all the social media accounts for LPNH.
Yeah, and LP New Hampshire, they haven't been on the map as far as social media goes for that long. It's been just over a year. And yeah. I think it's kind of funny because most people don't even know who you are, but you've done most of the posting and also made most of the posts that have gone viral.
Yes, I'm the non-celebritarian of LPNH Twitter, but it's been close to 2 years now. So we had our partial takeover of LPNH in 2021. And that was in January. And then March 2021 is when I got the keys to Twitter. And at the start, it was me and there was a couple people on the early iteration of the social media team that were from, for lack of a better term, the loser brigade. And so we would be trading off tweets. I'd tweet out something, good and based, and they would tweet out something trans lives matter or something like that. And then the infamous attempted coup happened, and we lost the keys for a couple weeks, and we got them back, and they all went away, and it was just me for a little bit. And then I think in June of 2021 I added Jeremy Kauffman, and then it was us for about a year, and then we added you this past summer.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild ride. I mean, what was the first tweet you guys sent that really ruffled feathers? I don't know if you can remember. I mean, because just for context, for people who don't know, the coup in New Hampshire was almost just a reaction to the social media and how based you guys were being.
I remember the first tweet that we did, but the first one that riled up feathers might have been the John McCain tumor tweet, and then the one that really ruffled feathers was when I added Jeremy, and he came swinging with the child labor tweet, and that's the one that kind of really set everything off. And then the coup happened shortly after that.
Yeah. So, I gotta admit, before the whole New Hampshire tweet thing happened, I was a little bit more of the mindset of professional messaging. No one's ever going to listen to you unless you're, just being relatable and, not trying to sound like you're too crazy. But the New Hampshire thing was just a really eye-opening moment, because it forced the other side to show their colors. And then as more time has gone on, we've actually seen the shifting of the Overton window, like stuff that a year ago would have just like blown up the internet and made the news if we tweeted that exact same thing now. And we have tried it. Like
we've done the trial labor tweet a couple times, and now it's pretty much law in New Hampshire. Yeah. No, but I was the same way. Like I was more like I ran Jacob Hornberger's Twitter for the entire duration of his campaign, and it was just straight-laced libertarian. So I was representing somebody else, so I had to be serious. And then once I started LPNH, and then really when Jeremy came on, I got from him, and I got a message and why New Hampshire can be a little bit bolder and try to shift that Overton window a little more than say the other states.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it works. Where did you realize you had a knack for social media? Was LPNH like the first time you ever said something that had tens of thousands of people losing their minds, or was there like a precursor to that where you started realizing?
I'd say it was the Hornberger campaign. When that first started, I was really excited about that. Like, at the time, it didn't pan out. He didn't turn out. I love the guy, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But I actually started an Instagram page for him, and then just because I felt like it, and then somebody noticed it and asked me to join the social media team, and one thing led to another, and then I started running his Twitter account, and then that led to us starting the podcast and doing a weekly live stream with him. So I got the feel of Twitter at that time, running his account, and then eventually that led to me doing LPNH. I put my name at that 2021 convention. I signed up for the communications committee, and I let them know I have a little bit of experience running Twitter accounts, and I just started doing it and learned as I went.
Yeah, no, it's
and then and then with Jeremy and you guys have just made it that much better.
It's a great team. Like, I love we all kind of I don't know, we're all kind of on the same page with what type of messaging we're trying to push. And I don't know, there's and
then behind the scenes, let's just give a little shout out to the rest of the communications team, Bill and Matt and all those other guys. I've had once in a while I'll have a meme idea, and I'll run it by Bill Barger, tall Bill, and we've had a few viral memes that
get
I'll have the idea, or I'll just tell it to him, and he'll make the meme, and I'll send it out, and it goes viral.
Yeah, he has the credit for getting the most internationally recognized tweet we ever made. I think he made the meme for that one.
He did?
I think so, right?
The McCain, your McCain one?
No, not mine. The Zelensky one. That was.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I was literally laying in my bed one night, and I thought of that in my head, and I just texted it to him. I said, "Can you do this?" He said, "Yep."
See, that's how it starts. It starts as a thought in Erik's head, and then within a few days, it's written about in the Jerusalem Post. That's just how things go around here. I always thought it was funny when I started getting into podcasting and into political spheres. Whatever like crass humor or offensive jokes I ever heard, they were nothing compared to the type of shit I'd hear on a job site. Because on a job site, nothing's being recorded, and everyone hates being at work and just wants to go home. And so there's like this drive to just throw the most disgusting, like shocking thing you can think of out there to just get people to go like, oh, what the fuck? Okay, that's funny. That'll like distract me for a few minutes to forget I'm at work. So like seeing people clutch their pearls over dumb political jokes or whatever, I always thought was funny. Have you kind of thought the same thing? Or
Yeah, absolutely. But like, even more so, like people get so upset over tweets. They get more upset over LPNH tweets than they do about, you know, like we've said a million times, like the war in Yemen or, you know, Israel's occupation of Palestine. Like, they get more outraged over that than, you know, real world stuff that's happening.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's very true. Also, I've noticed, like, when I was on Tulsi Gabbard's campaign back in 2019, 2020, like trying to talk to normal people about kind of abstract political stuff, whether it was like wars overseas or some sort of like civil liberties thing or whatever, it was all so removed from their immediate lives that they didn't really care. Like you had to be talking about something that they could tangibly understand that was going to affect them directly. So you could talk about like how many people had died in Afghanistan, or like, you know, what factions of Al Qaeda and ISIS we were arming in Syria or whatever, and they just wouldn't care. And then if you say, well, hey, if we end this, then we can start paying you, then you can keep more of your money and it won't be going to this thing, then they'd suddenly like tune in and be like, okay.
Oh yeah, you tell them it's your tax dollars that are funding all of this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the only way to get to people. Like I don't know. Like I've become more callous over the last few years, and basically just tried to, instead of like trying to shame people into feeling bad about how something is going on, I just try to convict them in the way of like, look at, you know, how much this is hurting you, and look at how much money this is wasting, and this isn't putting you first, and this isn't putting America first. Like almost attacking things from a selfish angle, because that's the only way you can really motivate anyone to care about anything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's coming out of your wallet, and yeah, people are worried about their day-to-day activities, you know, getting the kids to soccer practice and this and that, and most people don't have time to get into, you know who's funding, you know, al-Nusra in Syria, and it's just too much for the average person. So
yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what you do for work. You're a carpenter, and when people think that, they might just think woodworking, but your job's actually a lot more involved with that. So tell us like what you do exactly and what you're doing.
I do metal stud framing and drywall, but mostly metal stud framing. Union carpenter since 2002. So I got in like right after high school, and I've been doing it ever since.
So how'd you get into that field? Was it something your family did, or something?
Yeah, it was my father. My father did it. My uncle did it. My grandfather did it, and I had no idea what I wanted to do coming out of high school. Like barely scraped through high school, and then once I became a senior, I was about to graduate, and my old man was like, you know, you're either going to college or you're going to come to work with me. Take your pick. So, you know, I picked going to work with him, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I some people might not know this, but I was accepted to college, and I had scholarships and everything, and I was going to go for criminal justice, believe it or not. So I could have ended up being a cop. And
imagine that, read the cop.
Dude, I was joking about this to some of my coworkers. I would have been a great cop, because something I say is the only good cop is a bad cop, and I would have been one of those cops that just like never charged anyone with anything.
If I get pulled over, I'd want it to be from Reed Coverdale.
I'd be the type that would, like, you know, someone's going 90 in a 60, just like speed up and pull up next to them, roll the window down, like, hey, what's the hurry? You want to just slow it down a little bit? You know, one of those types. But Yeah, but that almost became a reality. But then, like 2 weeks before I was supposed to go to college, I just was like, man, I don't want to go back to school again. I hate. I don't know if you hated high school. You said you barely skipped through, but
yeah.
I absolutely hated it.
Yeah, it's public schools. They just suck the will for learning out of everybody. Yeah, so I got in a little bit of trouble when I was in my junior year. So this is back in 2000, so quite a while ago. Pot was very much still illegal in Mass, and I was selling pot to my friends in high school, and I got busted across the street from my high school. After school, I'd go across the street and hang out. I'd wait for my buddy to come pick me up to go work on our landscaping job that I had at the time. And I got caught. I got arrested. Was in jail for the night, and then I had to go to court and all that stuff. They told me I was going to go to prison for a year, and the whole 3, 4, 5 trials later, I got off with probation, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And then that's when my father came to me and said, just come work with me if you don't want to go to college or anything. And that's how all that started.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing is that our society is kind of geared toward saying that you're only successful if you do well in high school and then you continue on to college. And I hated learning in high school. Like in high school, I did not want to learn about algebra. I didn't want to learn about anything. I just wanted to go work or go play or I just didn't want to be in a classroom learning. But now, and I know you're like this too, because you're just consuming podcasts all the time and learning more and more about politics and foreign policy or whatever. Now I have a desire to learn a lot of that. It's actually kind of funny. The 2 classes that I did the absolute worst in, I got a 70 in both of them, was citizenship and law and economics back in high school.
I can't even remember anything in high school that I enjoyed, or in school in general. Everything that I had a desire to know about and learn came after. And through just your own research and podcasts, I mostly work alone at work, so I can have my headphones in all day, and I listen to podcasts and audiobooks all day. And that's how I've learned for the last 20, 21, 22 years now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so dumb that it's really because your elementary and middle school grades don't matter that much. It's really all your high school grades. So it's you're from the time you're 16, from the time you're 15 till the time you're 18 is what determines success for so many people. And your brain hasn't even fully formed. You haven't spent time in the real world yet to figure out what type of person you are, what type of stuff you like doing. And so many decisions are made within that short 4-year window. And I don't know. It's just ridiculous. And I feel more and more, or go ahead if you have a comment.
No, I'm just going to say, a lot of people go on to college and just get these useless degrees that, they come out and, they got nowhere to go. And it's you got the trades over here that you can make a really good living and a lot of money, and there's nobody into them. We need more people going into the trades, and you can make a really good career doing electrical, doing carpentry, doing what you do. And it's a better path if you don't want to waste your money. You go and make money right away after high school instead of wasting $100,000 paying for college.
Yeah. So what in your day-to-day jobs, what type of cool things have you been able to see? Because I've been able to go into mines around the country and do some crazy stuff with the power line work, see really cool things that other people wouldn't necessarily. But have you been like on high rises? Like what type of stuff have you done?
Yeah, I did. I did a little bit of work in the Hancock building in Boston, but I remember listening to a podcast of yours recently, and you talked about how you go out in a storm and you fix somebody's electricity, and that that really makes you feel good. I've helped build hospitals, schools, office buildings for other people to work in. And when you really sit back and think about it, at the end of the day, like, you're building something, you're doing something that's going to give other people an opportunity and work. And, you build a hospital where, people's lives are going to be saved. And at the end of the day, it really makes you feel good.
Yeah. So how long are you typically in one job site at a time? Like how often do you, I know it probably varies quite a bit, but are you usually
it varies quite a
in the
bit,
same
but
spot?
it could be like I was just on a job for like 2 weeks in between. Before that, I was on a job in Gloucester for about 7 months. Was in another job for 2 weeks, and now I'm on another job that I'll be on probably for 6-7 months. So anywhere from like, if I'm on a job for a while, it's anywhere from 6 months to a year, and then I'll move on to the next one.
So with what you do specifically, are you just doing the metal studs, or is there like anything else you do? Or
yeah, I come in and all the steel's up, the concrete's mostly poured, and I come in and either me and another person will frame the exterior walls of a building. And then once that's done, we'll move on to the interior and frame all the interior walls, the soffits, the ceilings. And then if I end up staying on the job longer, I'll do a little bit of sheetrock, but typically I'll move on to the next one and start framing that one up.
yeah, so do you get to see the progression of the job ever? Like you guys coming in and start from the bottom up, and then like the electricians start coming in and stuff? Or
yeah, I usually get to the point where if it's like a 6 or 7 story building, I'll start framing it at the bottom, and then by the time I'm on like the 3rd or 4th floor, the 1st and 2nd floor are getting sheetrock, electrical, plumbing, and then sheetrock. So I'll typically see a job up until like maybe they're painting, and then I'll be on to the next one. I very rarely see the finished product of a job. Once in a while, but no, not often.
Yeah.
I've done so many. I'd like to go back once in a while to see the finished product, but I never have.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. No.
When it's funny if I'm driving near a road where I know I set all the poles and it's a short detour to like go down there, I'll like drive down, because I would mostly, when I worked here before, I'd mostly just set poles, and then the guys would come behind and like do the line work. So sometimes I would just be there and literally set all the poles and anchors and then not even like get to see the line work. Sometimes I'd be like starting on the poles, and then a couple weeks later the line guys come behind me, start stringing the wire while I'm still like setting the poles ahead of them. But it's cool to like go back and see the whole thing when it's all done. And I don't know, it's cool. Like it's cool being part of a crew, like being part of a team getting something done. Like that's just I did realize when I was truck driving, just being by myself, that was something that was missing a little bit. Like, the camaraderie of like going to work with the guys and getting something big accomplished. It's kind of a good feeling.
Definitely. That, like I said a little bit earlier, definitely when you sit back and think about it, you go to work every day, and it's a lot of work. You get up really early, you're out working outside every day, you're sore. And I got shoulder surgery a year ago, but when you really sit to think about it, like I've been doing it for 21 years now, and I helped build a lot of buildings. And at the end of the day, it feels good that you help. You're building. It sounds cheesy, but you're helping building America. You're building, creating jobs, and shit like that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's why all these commies sound so dumb. Like they don't realize. I mean, I know they talk about the workers a lot, but they don't realize like the amount of capital that goes into creating a business and like keeping people going to work and employed. And like, I mean, I know you get paid good money like I do. So having a good employer who takes care of you, like realizing how hard that is, how much work it is, and just I don't know, it creates a lot of appreciation for business. Like, I mean, I think a lot of the songs about work and stuff, they're all about like the screwing the man and sticking it to him and just trying to get your hours in. But like if you have a job where you're skilled and you're making good money and you're like part of, I don't know how many people work at your company, but like at the company I'm at, I think there's like 50 people or something. So the contributions you make, like they can actually extend the company's success. So you're like an integral part of growing the business and making it more successful. And it's a really great feeling instead of just like showing up at a warehouse making $15 an hour stacking boxes or something like that. So
the crew size vary. It could be anywhere from 5 to like 100 friggin' people, but your average American progressive today, if I was walking down the street with my work gear on, they just look down, they think they're for the workers, but they'll look down their nose at you in a heartbeat. They wouldn't last a day on one of our jobs.
Yeah, no, dude, it's so funny. When I was working out in Colorado, I was doing roofing with a bunch of, so there were like a bunch of Mexicans, and then there were some people from like Africa, different African countries, and then some people from different European countries. So it was like the most diverse group of people I'd ever worked with. And it was like the most racist place I'd ever worked. Like the blacks were all making jokes.
No, my partner right now is a Mexican. He's more racist than I am.
Oh yeah, dude. They're like some of the most racist people I've ever met. It's actually funny in hindsight, like thinking about it.
Dude, you'll never find a better sheetrocker than a Mexican. I swear to God.
Same with roofer.
Sheetrockers in the world.
Yeah, dude. They this roofing company, like I think it was probably 80% Mexican, and then there were like 5 or 6 white guys, and then the rest probably like 10 black guys or something. But like if a white English speaking guy showed up, new hire, we would all like make bets on how long this guy would last. It'd be like, oh, I bet he makes it like 2 or 3 days or whatever. And the Mexicans, like they show up on time, do work hard, and oh man, it's crazy.
Definitely. It's changed since I've been in. When I first got in back in like 2002, it was like dominated by French Canadians. There was so many French Canadians, old timers. We called them frogs. But from like probably 2010 till now, there's a lot of Mexicans. I've met a lot of really good Mexicans, and they're fucking amazing workers.
Yeah. No, there's no denying that. It was funny. The Mexicans like accepted me as an honorary Mexican because I speak Spanish, and I also would like eat really spicy food. Like we'd go out to eat and stuff, and I'd get just as much hot sauce and everything as they would. And I also was so tan and dirty from roofing. Like my skin was darker than some of their skin. So
every curse word, every Spanish curse word I learned was from the job site.
Oh yeah. Those are the best because you can like yell them in a group. You
like spicy food. I like spicy food, but they bring their own. Everyone brings their own lunch to work, but sometimes my Mexican friends bring tacos and fajitas and stuff like that, and they bring enough for like almost the whole crew, and they share them. And you don't know spicy until you have one of their freaking tacos. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, do they ever bring like the little stoves and cook right on the job site? Because a lot of the guys out in Colorado would do that.
A couple times.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you ever like talk about politics at all with the guys at work, or do you just mostly keep it to yourself?
It depends. Like mostly I avoid it, but it doesn't take much to get it out of me. Like one little trigger will, last job I was on, my partner mentioned Ukraine, and then I just like went off about it. And then, I kind of explained to him what my position was, what libertarianism is. And, here and there I'll talk about it, but typically I just go to work.
Yeah. Yeah. We worked right through Christmas because of the storm, and, we all got crazy checks for working, but it was funny, like the day we got our checks, which was the Thursday after Christmas, was the same day that Joe Biden signed that $1.7 trillion spending bill. And so like, I think like 35% or something of my check was just gone to the federal government, because when you're making that crazy overtime stuff, they just like take so much of it. Mm-hmm. And everyone else in the company was realizing that too. And I almost like wanted to send a group text to the entire company, like, don't worry, guys, the government's spending that money they took out of your check really well. They're really going to take care of you. They're sending 45 billion more to Ukraine, and, who knows.
Does your company know like what you do, like your podcast and your Twitter personality and all that? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, because I've worked here before a couple times, but when I was coming back, I was, my cousin owns the company, so I was sitting down for an interview with him a few months ago, and I did tell him, I was like, by the way, I know when I worked here back in 2019, I wasn't because I had been on Tulsi's campaign, but nothing like, I wasn't anything. I didn't have any sort of social media presence. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I am pretty provocative on Twitter, and I was like screaming at Maggie Hassan through a loudspeaker the other day. And, so I might make it into the news occasionally, and people might call you and like say stuff about me or whatever. But, you know who I am, you know what I think.
So if you get doxxed and they go after you, call your company, it's not going to matter.
No, they already have, actually. And
they have?
Like, yeah. It's like, okay, whatever. But I don't know. It's weird. Like I used to, I think most of the guys that I work with are pretty conservative, and I used to like not get along with them as well as I do now. With everything that's happened over the last few years, has kind of like put me in alignment with them in a way that hadn't existed before. Like I used to just be kind of like, because when Trump was president, it was like, oh, everything's fine and everything's good, and it's like, no, it's not. And I was pulling my hair out trying to, whenever I'd talk about politics, so we just like wouldn't agree on much. But now, like after all the craziness with COVID and like how much Joe Biden sucks and this crazy war in Ukraine, like it's so easy to talk to them now and be on the same level and be like, yeah, this is just insane.
Yeah.
But
no, yeah, like I'm in the union, so like typically that's known to be like left wing. And as far as like, the suits in the union, they're always trying to, push us to vote Democrat. They send us flyers and stuff. And, but like when you get down to like the worker level, like especially 2016 through 2020, that whole Trump era, you go onto the average job site and talk to the average actual worker, I'd see Trump bumper stickers on people's trucks like 10-1. Oh, I actually can't even think if I've ever seen a Biden sticker on a construction worker's truck. It's either nothing or a Trump sticker or some sort of conservative, sticker of some sort. And so
yeah, no, it's what was COVID like for you guys? Did it screw you up big time with your company, or did
not really? I think we were out for I was home for maybe a month, not even like 3 weeks, I think it was. My father actually retired right when that happened. He had like 2 months left. He'd been in for like over 30 years, and he's just said, "Fuck it, I'm done," and he just retired. But I was out for 3 weeks, and then I came back. I was on a job in Cambridge. I was actually on a job in Cambridge right next to, apparently one of the first cases in the United States came from one of these labs in Boston, I guess, but I was right next to it. But the only inconvenience was, we had to wear a mask. So I barely wore. I had the bandana for a little bit. Nobody really abided by it. For a while, we had to take our temperature before we went onto the job. That lasted for a couple months, and then it pretty much just went away. It really wasn't an issue for us.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I was actually unemployed when everything fell apart. So I left New Hampshire in the end of 2019, and then I had surgery. And then after I'd healed up from surgery, I moved out west, and then March, I had like 5 job interviews for driving truck. There was one in Utah, which I eventually got, but 2 in Arizona, 1 in Colorado, 1 in Washington. And all the interviews fell through the floor because of COVID. They said, "Oh, we don't even have our drivers moving."
Right.
And, then I finally got the job in June out in Utah. But luckily for me, I was alone all the time. So I didn't have to wear a mask anyway. The only time I'd ever have to abide by anything was getting gas or getting diesel at a fuel station or something. But it was kind of
they didn't force the vax on you or anything.
No, because we got there were only 6 of us, so we didn't fall under, because they were threatening if you had 100 employees or whatever, they were threatening that you were going to have to do that, but we weren't ever in that. We weren't ever in that zone. What were they ever pushing that stuff on you guys at your company?
Nope.
Or no?
Not at all. No.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I know people in other companies that did have to deal with it. That, man, dude, that's what
we're both died suddenly range, so
yeah. I know exactly. That's what really transformed the way I think and made me start thinking about coming back to New Hampshire, was how insane everybody got over the last 3 years. People I knew who I thought were, more independent minded or more fact based or more sensible or, more respecting of people's rights. They just all threw it out the window in fear. And I know nowhere is perfect, but at least in New Hampshire, there's this culture of, I'm going to do my thing and you can do your thing and just leave me alone. And while I was gone, I started realizing that, having a community that believes in the same basic principles as you is really important. And I realized I actually wanted to come back. But
yeah, I think PorkFest 2020 was the only major libertarian event that happened that year in the entire country.
Yeah, in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
You moved to New Hampshire in 2020? Is that what you said? Or
July 2020, yeah.
Was that triggered at all by COVID, or was it something you were thinking anyways?
No, it's something that I wanted to do pretty much since I became a libertarian in probably around 2013, I think, and I started listening to Free Talk Live, and I found out about the Free State Project. And from that time, I wanted to move to New Hampshire. It just took some time to be able to, save and find a place. And it finally happened in 2020. And I got, plugged in right away to the wonderful liberty community that we have here, as you know.
Yeah. If all Free Staters look the same. We all have beards and, kind of like, working men. It's kind of like once we're all in a group, it's really hard to tell us apart.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing about New Hampshire is just the culture and the groups. That's the best thing that's come out of, being Mises Caucus organizer when I got here, and all these connections that we've made, and connecting with the Free State Project, and all the friends we've made, and it's not happening in any other part of the country, and it's a special place.
Yeah, so I think they introduced that bill already that we were talking about a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure, but the one to like basically illegalize the Libertarian Party, like make it impossible to run. So right now it's
they trying to raise the filing fees, right?
Yeah, right now it's what, $100 to file, and then you need like 5,000 signatures, and they're trying to raise it to $10,000 to file, and you need like 20,000 signatures or something. So like, if that happens,
if that happens, that's the end of any chance the Libertarian Party has.
Yeah,
but
yeah. But what I loved about Jeremy's campaign, and what I love about the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire, is there's not like this myth or like this like misconception that we can somehow win an electoral victory. And I don't think that's like ever been the goal, really, because first of all, the electoral victories are mostly in the Republican Party in New Hampshire anyway, but it's more about just like sending a message and pushing the Overton window and creating a culture. Like Jeremy's videos that he put out during his campaign, and then like all the messaging we've done from LP New Hampshire, like it's gotten more attention nationwide than like any other Libertarian Party affiliate by far, like by a factor of like 100.
We've gotten more national media and international media than the rest of the LP combined.
Yeah, I remember one time when we made that Zelensky tweet, LP National retweeted it, and they wrote about LP National because they retweeted something that we said. It's just kind of funny.
I still can't believe they retweeted that one.
It's hilarious. Like, I mean, even though I've got like some disagreements with the current, they're
maybe,
so much better.
Maybe it wasn't. I don't regret it at all. But like those style of tweets, we're the only ones who do them, and I don't know. It's you get the shock value, but you have to follow it up with the substance, and that's what we do every time. You did it with the McCain one, I did it with the Zelensky one, and not everyone's gonna like it.
No, yeah, I mean the thing is, like, people have talked about how evil John McCain is for years, and no one cares. Suddenly, like, everyone was talking about, like, you had the New York Post reporting on John McCain's war crimes because we brought them up. And then with Zelensky, with that tweet, you had the Jerusalem Post talking about neo-Nazi factions in Ukraine's military. And it's like, okay, like, how else are you going to get the mainstream?
He's a Jewish president, Reed. He can't be.
Yeah, I know. I missed the narrative on that one. But like, we effectively got mainstream media to put out the talking points that we wanted them to, that they never otherwise would have, because a lot of them like sent us requests to answer them, like, why did you write this? And then other ones, they would just like they'd include our follow-up tweets or whatever.
Right, like a picture of Megan McCain crying over, or a photo op of Megan McCain crying over her father's casket. But it's like, this woman goes on The View every day, well, used to, and as an apologist for war crimes, and saying Julian Assange should spend the rest of his life in prison, and normalizing perpetual war to your average soccer mom. Like, you know how many people watch The View and listen to her and think she's, you know, some sort of authority, and they just believe whatever she says. It's amazing how, you know, people are more offended over that tweet than what she's advocating and what her father for his entire career, you know, voted for and made happen. You know, going over to Ukraine and standing on a stage with, you know, Oli Tenebach, the founder of the Svoboda Party, who's a neo-Nazi party. Nobody gives a shit about that, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, the shock value like starts a conversation that otherwise would never have been bridged. And I remember, I think it was with the McCain one. Afterward, someone tweeted out a video of a drone strike. I don't know what country it was in, but it just showed like a family in this room, and then a drone strike happens, and then like most of the people in the room are killed, and there's this one kid like dragging himself around on the floor with his guts spilling out behind him. And like, you're more upset about something offensive we said about this bitch and her warmongering father. Like,
right.
I mean, it's like, how dare you? Basically, like, how can you be upset about that? And the thing is, like, a lot of people in the liberty movement, they talk about like these blood-soaked monsters and these like tyrants and evil thieves and war pigs or whatever. But then when like the rubber meets the road, they get all protective and like offended that we would say such things. But I feel like in New Hampshire, like, that's really how we feel. We're like, no, fuck these people. Like, they're the worst thing ever. It's like if on the anniversary of Saddam Hussein's death, if some Iraqis were like posting pictures of him being hung and saying happy holidays, like, no one would have an issue with that. They'd be like, yeah, fuck him, he's Saddam Hussein. But you know, John McCain's our Saddam Hussein. Like, he's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you talked about that video of that kid, and it's just like I always go back to that fucking school bus in Yemen that got drone strike by a U.S. missile. And you know, I got 3 kids, I got 3 girls, and you just think of that. You put yourself in that position, like how you would feel if you were the parent of one of those kids on that school bus. 40 kindergartners got just, you know, their lives ended in an instant because of U.S. foreign policy. You know, if I was one of those parents, I'd be looking for the nearest Al Qaeda affiliate, you know, in a heartbeat. And you can put yourself in that position. It's very easy to do.
Yeah, there's situations that would drive normal people to go insane and join a disgusting movement, because if they kill your kids, like, it's not like, you know, sanity is still on the table. It's just vengeance. So
that's the worst thing in the world. When you know, somebody's kid getting killed, and if it's because of a foreign government, and it's like, obviously they're gonna, you know, never mind.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man, it's been great coming back here and getting back into the community, becoming friends with you. And I would encourage anyone who's watching who's thought about moving here to definitely do it. Like, I mean, the world set free in our lifetime thing that we keep lying to ourselves about is never going to happen. But I'll give the last word to you, Eric. What do you want to tell people who are thinking about liberty in New Hampshire and blue collar work, or like anything we've talked about? What are your any final thoughts you want to add?
I would say just come for a visit. There's you know, Pork Fest is this summer. Liberty Forum's right around the corner. I think that's next month. Go to freestateproject.com. There's a calendar of events. Just come out for a visit and see if you, especially if you're a libertarian, come out for a visit and let us know. Let LPNH know. Let Free State Project know. We'll help with your trip. We'll help with your move if you want to move here. And you know, we're trying to build the libertarian homeland here.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, down in the description, I've got Eric's Twitter and then also LP New Hampshire. Make sure you follow both of those. And please go check out Lions of Liberty if you don't know them already. Try to make me look good doing my first sponsorship here. I've been on there a few times, like I said, and had those guys on here. I will be doing an episode Monday night, and then we've got the Four Horsemen with Ben Swan coming next Sunday. So that's going to be a great show. Nice. And yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you on the next episode.